everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. We're taking a break from baseball testing tonight to venture to the desert world of Arrakis for a game of Dune Imperium. In this game, we're trying to amass 10 victory points via the various conflicts. The way the solo mode in this game works is using the House Hagal deck, so let's go meet our opponents first. As per usual, I'm just playing base game tonight. Our first Automa opponent tonight is Earl Memnon Thorvald of House Thorvald. As is usual in the solo mode, we don't worry about anything on the left side. We only worry about the signet ring. So when that comes up out of the House Hagal deck over here, Thorvald will gain a spice from that. He'll be doing everything in yellow tonight. That's it for Earl Memnon Thorvald. Now let's go meet our other opponent. Our other opponent tonight is Glossu the Beast Robin of House Harkonnen. Once again, don't worry about anything on the left. When he gets his signet ring, he's got brutality. He gains a garrison troop or two if he has at least one faction alliance. And he'll be doing everything in blue tonight. The Automa players both start with a water, as do I, but I will also start with some extra resources, as we'll see when we move down to my leader, and the Beast is doing everything in blue. So, with that all set up, let's go meet the leader I'm playing as. After my somewhat tainted victory with Lady Katrana Prestor the last time I played Dune Imperium, we're going to pull out a third different leader from the major houses of the Dune universe as we play Paul Atreides from House Atreides. He's got a special ability. We do worry about his left side. You may look at the top card of your deck at any time, and whenever the signet ring comes up, I'm going to draw a card. Of course, I'm doing everything in red, and since I'm playing on easy, I also start with in addition to starting with a water, I start with a Solari and a spice as well. Solari is the money in the game. And the shortcut is Prescient's ability. Since I am playing solo, I'm just going to play with the top card of my deck, always with the top card of my deck revealed, since I can look at it at any time, and I'm playing solo. So, the top card of his deck is Seek Allies. So we'll put that on top of his deck, which means next turn I'll be probably looking for alliances. Anyway, we're all set with the leaders, so now let's move over to the game board and see what we've got going on here. As you can see, I've got 3 troops in my starting garrison. Neither of my rivals have anything going on in their garrisons. I also do need to get cubes for the Beast over to the faction tracks. Let's see, bottom. Stop dropping, Phoenix. Bottom, bottom, and bottom. We'll take a look at our Imperium row, which is actually the row just up here in the top of shot. We've also got our reserve cards. The Spice Must Flow, which costs 9 influence, and you get a victory point when you acquire it. You gain 1 spice when you play it. We've also got the Arrakis Liaison. Well, here's a quick look at the Spice Must Flow. Also in reserve, we've got the Arrakis Liaison, which costs 2 Solari. You can deploy to green or blue spaces. You get 2 influence and you play it during a reveal turn. And we've got Fold Space, which you can only get by going to the space of the same name on the board. You can use this to go anywhere, draw a card, and trash it. So let's take a look at our first Imperium row. So first up, Scout. For one influence, you can use it to deploy to blue or yellow spaces. When you play it during a reveal turn, 1 Solari or 1 influence and a sword, and retreat up to 2 of your troops. So if you're in on a conflict that you have no way of winning, that's a way to get them out. Next up, Fremen Camp for 4. You can use that to deploy to any yellow space. 2 spice to get 3 troops. If you use it on an agent turn, during a reveal turn, you get 2 influence and a sword. Next up, Gunthopter for 4. For 4 influence, deploy to blue or yellow spaces. Each opponent loses 1 garrisoned troop. During a reveal turn, 3 swords, and you may deploy a troop from your garrison to the conflict. Then, Bene Gesserit Sister for 3. Bene Gesserit can obviously go to Bene Gesserit or green spaces. You either get 2 influence or 2 swords. Now, there was a note on the Fremen camp earlier. There might be other cards that are sensitive to Bene Gesserit. It'll say something like, if another Bene Gesserit card is in play, you get this additional effect. So that's what that means. And our last card up. Speaking of which, Missionata Protectiva for 1 influence. Can use it to deploy to a blue space. And if you don't have another Bene Gesserit card in play, go up 1 on any faction. 1 influence during a reveal turn. Of course, my Swordmaster's at the Swordmaster space. Theirs are buried 5 cards deep in the conflict deck. So I think we're all set up here to get into this game, so let's drop in with the first round. Alright, we're all set to get into this game, so let's take a look at our first conflict. Our first conflict card is a skirmish. First place gets a victory point, second gets a water, third isn't available in a 3-player game. As I mentioned, the Automas will be playing using the House Hagal deck, so they get the reward that's on the card, not the one on the space. So Memnon is going to Arrakis first, so he's getting his signet ring right away. He'll send an agent to Arrakis, which will give him a troop in the conflict, which he can deploy in, so yellow's at 2. And he gets his signet ring, which gets him a spice. We need to be careful about that, because the Automa can trade resources in for extra victory points. It's 7 spice or Solari, 3 intrigue cards or water. As for the beast, he is deploying to harvest spice, the space with the most spice in it. At least that's the way it's tied. So if no spaces have... Oh, actually, wait a second. If no spaces have bonus spice, we reveal another card. So no spaces of bonus spice right now, which means we reveal another harvest spice, which does the same thing. So the beast is going to conspire instead. So he's going up to conspire. He'll advance with the Emperor faction and get 2 troops in his garrison. As for me, I think I'm going to use my signet ring, actually. The only question is, where am I going with it? Because that'll give me seek allies and a way to acquire allies right off the bat. Do I want to pay the water and get an extra jump on spice right away? I think I do, actually, now that I'm looking at that. So I'm going to play my signet ring, which will give me seek allies, and then my new top card of my deck is a dagger. So I'll use that to go to Haga Basin, as I'm going to see if I can get this agent on this base a little bit flatter. Let me see if turning it the other way gives me any better luck. Much. I heard a pretty satisfying click there, so I think that'll work. I'll spend the water going there, which will give me 2 bonus spice. And the question now is, do I want to get in on this conflict, or do I think I'm going to try to sell this spice off? Or am I going to do something else? And I think the answer here is, do I want to get in on this right away? I think I will, actually. So I'll deploy 2 troops into the conflict and go up to 4. Let's see what Memnon decides to do here. He is going to secrets, which means he'll go over here and advance up with the Bene Gesserit. As for the beast, what's he doing? He is going to conspire, except he already sent an agent there, so instead he'll be going to rally troops. That's bad. Which will give him 4 extra troops in the garrison, so now the beast is going to be a force to be reckoned with. At least they're out of agents this round, so I think I am going to use... I think I am going to seek allies. I can deploy to any diplomatic space, but I trash the card. I think here I'm going to go to I think here I'm going to go to Still Suits and get some water. I'll go up with the Fremen, and that will give me a water. As for my reveal turn, I've got a total of 5 influence and an extra sword, so I go up to 5, which means I'm hoping to duck a big sword card from Memnon. So, what do I think I want here? I think I will take the Bene Gesserit's sister, and then so that's for 3. I have 2 left. Replacing the Bene Gesserit's sister will be Spice Smugglers for 2 with the Spacing Guild. Can use that to go to a blue space. If I use this to deploy 2 spice to go up on with the Spacing Guild and gain 3 Solari. Reveal turn gives me an influence and a sword. I think I'll take the Missionaria Protectiva. Say that 5 times fast. I've got 1 left, which will probably grab the Scout unless this is a doozy. So let's find out what it is. Test of Humanity for 3. A Bene Gesserit spaces green or blue. Each opponent chooses to either discard a card or lose a deployed troop. 2 Solari on that, which means I will grab the Scout. And then replacing that in the Imperium row. Worm Riders for 6 influence, or for 6 influence with the Fremen. Deploy to blue or yellow spaces. 2 spice if you use it to deploy. If you have 2 influence with the Fremen, you get 4 swords. If you have the alliance with the Fremen, plus 2 more. So that's it for my agent turn, my reveal turn. So now we move into the conflict. We have no intrigue cards to worry about there. The Memnon is going to reveal a card from the deck, and we're interested in the swords on the bottom. We're hoping for a 2 or less. So let's find out what's on the back of here. It's a goose egg, so that's actually very fortunate. Which means I will end up winning the conflict, so I will gain a victory point. Troops leave the garrison. Memnon does get a water, though, since he came in 2nd place in the conflict. Actually, does he get the 2nd place? I think he does, since he was in on it. Yeah, he does. Okay. Alright, so he does get the water from that. Next up, so troops got returned. Okay, place a spice marker on each location that doesn't have a spice, so there and there. Then we'll recall. Where was my other one? My other one was there. Let's see, 2 yellow. And 2 blue. So looking at my turn, well, I'm getting ahead of myself here. I could potentially set myself up to go get my Swordmaster or start getting some troops into my garrison. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself there, so we recalled agents. We'll pass the first player token over to the Beast, and we're all set for round 2, so let's move it into round 2. This may end up being a round where I kind of build up my resources a little bit more. Let's see what our conflict is about here, though. Siege of Arrakis. Victory. First place gets you a victory point and control of Arrakis. Second place gets 4 Solari, and third isn't relevant to a 2-player game anyway, or a 3-player game anyway. So, looking at the House Hagal deck for the Beast, what's he doing? He is going to harvest spice, which he'll choose the most total spice. So that's the Great Flat, which will give him a total of 4 spice. And he can deploy up to 3 troops into the conflict. So this is a conflict I'm probably going to end up sitting out. So that brings him up to 6. As for my turn, I will draw my hand. Okay, I could go get my Swordmaster this round if I wanted to, but let's see what happens here. It might be a better idea to deploy Might be a better idea to rally troops, honestly. But we'll see what... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see what... Okay, that's not a card I was hoping to see there. What do I want to do here? I could go back to diplomacy again and get 2 more victory and get another victory point, but I think I want to set myself up to be able to get my sword master basically whenever I want him. So I'm going to use a Dune the Desert planet to go up to sell melange, and I'm going to sell my 3 melange, my 3 spice to get 8 Solari back. 5, 6, 7, 8. I could get in, like I said, I could get into this conflict if I was so inclined. I'm not completely sure I am yet, though. Let's see what Memnon's doing with his first agent turn. Memnon's first agent turn is going to selective breeding, so he'll be up with the Bene Gesserit already, getting his first victory point. Then for the beast, what he's doing... He's rallying troops. So he's getting 4 more in the garrison. He's going to be dangerous coming up later, and he's going to be dangerous over the course of this game. I was thinking about going to try to rally troops, but I think I do... I think I'll wait another turn instead. I want to build up my own garrison a little bit. So I'm going to use a diplomacy, paying the water... to go up to the Fremen, which will bring me up to 2 influence with the Fremen. That'll give me a victory point, and I'll get 2 troops. But I'm going to sit this. I'll sit this conflict out since the beast is already up to 6. As for Memnon, what he's doing, he's trying to go to selective breeding, except he can't, so he will be going instead to Arrakis himself. So he'll get an influence, he'll get a troop, he'll ignore the card. His signet ring does give him a spice, which he will deploy his troop into the conflict. Okay, so that will do it for them. Now for my reveal turn, I have 2 influence and a sword, which is not doing me any good. So I think for 2, it's going to be spice smugglers. Replacing that in the, in the Imperium row, is a Spice Hunter with the Fremen for 2 influence. You can go to Fremen or yellow spaces with that. Nothing for using it to deploy. And 1 influence and a sword during a reveal turn. If you have a Fremen bond, which means you have another Fremen card in play, I believe. Let me just double check what... If you have 1 or more other Fremen bond cards in play. Okay. So yep, as long as you have another Fremen card in play, you'll get an additional spice from that. So all of that will go to my discard pile. Now we start revealing swords. Hopefully they reveal big swords and try to knock each... Well, the beast is going to have a lot of influence this game. So his sword card is a goose egg. How about for Memnon? He pulls a 3, but that won't be enough to overtake the beast. The beast will win, which means he'll get on the board with a victory point of his own, and he'll take control of Arrakis. Memnon will get 4 Solari out of that. I, of course, get Bubkiss since I sat this conflict out. If I can ever get my 4... There we go. I was going to say if I can ever get my 4 Solari out. As usual, I am using the plastic components from Buy Your Command. Link to their Etsy store will be in the description down below. Okay, so everything empties out of the conflict. Now we'll prepare our bonus spice. So that'll be Haga Basin. And the Imperial Basin will get another bonus Solari as well. Agents come back. Oop, I forgot to reveal the top card of my library. I'll take care of that. I'll take care of that when I start my next turn. All right, which we're actually jumping into now, as I'm going to pass the first player over to myself, and we'll start round 3, where I, as I mentioned, am the first player. The control marker being on Arrakis means anybody who goes there has to pay the beast, not has to pay. The beast will get a Solari from the supply for that. So our next conflict card, Cloak and Dagger. First place gets you up a reputation and 2 intrigue cards. Second place gets you an intrigue card and a spice. Now I'll draw my hand up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'll actually remember to reveal the top card of my deck with Prescience. So on top of my deck is a Convincing Argument, which gives me 2 influence. Let's see, since I'm first player, whoop, that can technically go up there. I pulled my Swordmaster back, but I shouldn't have. What to do here? If I want a big influence turn, what do I think is the better idea here? To go get my Swordmaster or get some more troops? I think I'm going to use my Signet Ring to go get some more troops, which will give me Convincing Argument. Then the top card of my deck is another Convincing Argument. So I'll use that to go up to rally troops. I'll pay 4 Solari to get 4 more troops. Those will go into my garrison. I'd like to see the beast use up a few more of his troops before I commit mine to this conflict. Let's see what Thorvald's doing here. He is going to Still Suits, which will get him up with the Fremen rep. And he could deploy into the conflict, but he's got no troops right now. Hopefully the beast doesn't have any combat spaces here. He's going to Highliner, because of course he is. So he goes up with the Spacing Guild, gains 3 more troops, can deploy all of them, plus I believe it's 3 more. It's either 2 or 3 more when he goes to a combat space. Let me double check that. Up to 2 more. So he's going to deploy as much as he can into the conflict, which will bring him up to 10 strength in the conflict. So I'm probably sitting this one out. Let's see. Then for my turn, well, I can't get my Swordmaster yet. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the dagger. Am I going to use the dagger? Yes, I am going to use the dagger. To deploy green, I'll go up to the Hall of Oratory, which will give me another troop in my garrison and an influence on my next reveal turn. Then looking at Memnon, he will be going to Harvest Spice. He'll be going to Imperial Basin, which will give him 3 more spice, and he can deploy troops into the conflict, which he still has nobody in the conflict. As for the beast, he will be going to Harvest Spice as well, which means he's going to Haga Basin. So he'll get that spice, except he's going to trade. Does that trade happen immediately, or yep, at any time? So that would bring him up to a total of 7 spice, which means he'll be trading all of his spice in to get another victory point, and he can deploy even more strength into the conflict. He's got 14 strength in the conflict right now. So I'm going to be taking a reveal turn here, which means I will have a total of 7 influence to buy with. I think for 7 influence, that's going to be a Test of Humanity for 3. Then we'll replace that immediately with another Bene Gesserit Sister for 3, which I think I'll grab. If this is a 1, I'm going to grab it. Otherwise, my last influence is going to float away. Shifting Allegiances for 3. I can use that to deploy to green or yellow spaces. When I use it to deploy, shift down 1 and pay 2 spice to go up 2 with the faction. 2 influence on a reveal turn. Technically, the beast still has to reveal a sword card to this conflict. So he will find another 4. I'm not sorry to see that go away. So 18 strength, that's sitting there doing nothing for him, which means he'll go up with a faction. I believe that when they have to make a decision... Let me look here. I believe when they have to make a decision, do they go up? I would imagine they go up trying to advance to gain victory points. They choose the faction in which they have the least. So they would choose either Bene Gesserit or Fremen. I'm going to give them reputation with the Fremen. Alright, so that's all sorted out. And they get two intrigue cards. 1, 2. Nobody gets any second or third place reward since the beast was the only one in on the conflict. Okay, empty the conflict out, which takes a lot of the beast's troops out, so I don't completely mind that. I am tied with the beast right now with 2 victory points, so I do need to be sensitive to that. Bonus spice going to the Great Flat. Then we have untriggered endgame. Nobody at the Mentat. We'll recall agents. There's the other blue one that goes to the beast. And here's the other yellow agent. That kind of screwed up my plans a little bit to go get my Swordmaster on this turn. But there's nothing I can do about that now, so we'll move all of that to the discard pile. Now we're into round 4, where Memnon will actually be our first player. Our conflict in round 4, we are 1 round away from the rivals getting their Swordmasters. Guild Bank Raid. First place gets you 6 Solari, second gets you 4, third gets you 2. I may want to get in on that conflict so I can try to go get my Swordmaster next round. Memnon is up first. He is going to fold space, which will send him up on the Spacing Guild. As for the beast, let's see what he's doing. He is going to the Hall of Oratory to gain another troop. As for me, I'll give my deck a shuffle. Two, three, 4. Okay. Then we'll reveal the top card of the deck. We will reveal a Reconnaissance. So we can use that to go to blue spaces, which... On that note, I think we'll use... I think we'll use the Scout to go over to Siege Tabor, which I can go to since I have 2 influence with the Fremen. That will give me a troop, and I'll deploy that along with 2 more into the conflict. That'll bring me up to 6 strength, but I also get a water for that. As for Memnon, what's he doing this next turn? He is going to Hardy Warriors, because of course he is. So he'll go up with the Fremen, and now he'll get 2 troops which he can deploy into the conflict. So Memnon's on the board with 4 strength. As for Glossu, what's for the beast, what's he doing? He is going to Arrakis, which will give him a Solari from the supply, and it'll give him a troop, which brings him up to 6 strength. He also gets a Solari from that, since he has control of Where did I send him? Oh, I sent him to Arrakis. Oh, here's his second agent. I was wondering where his second agent was. Let's see. Speaking of agents, I have my second turn. Unfortunately, I can't get into the conflict. I can't deploy further into the conflict. I kind of want to leave the sisters for that, so I'm going to use my dagger here. I'm going to pay 4 Solari to get more troops. As much as I would rather be able to save that Solari, actually, I could just sit on it and take a reveal turn, which would give me 4 influence and 3 swords. I think that's a better idea. I'm going to sit on that and not use that agent this turn. I am taking a little bit of a gamble here, but I think rather than running myself down on Solari, that's probably a better plan. That'll give me 3 more swords, bringing me up to 9. And I've got a total of 4 influence, which will be the Gunthopter, which will be very handy, especially if the beast starts flying back up his troop count again. So let's see what we've got here. Replacing any of the Imperium row is Gene Manipulation. Another Bene Gesserit card. Costs 3 influence. You can use it to deploy to green or white or blue spaces. Trash a card, and if you have another Bene Gesserit card in play, 2 spice. We get 2 influence from that. So now we have to duck another 3 card from the beast. If we duck a 3, basically it's simple. If we duck a 3 card from the beast, we can probably go get our Swordmaster this next round. So let's see what's on here. It's a goose egg, which means we will win the conflict. That'll give us 6 Solari. And our Swordmaster, as long as we can draw a green card, the beast will get 4, so I'll trade his single in for a 5. Then we'll deploy for the Maker phase. Actually, we'll empty everything out there. Memnon gets... Oh, actually, we should have revealed a card for Memnon. I forgot he was in the conflict. He is revealing nothing anyway, so we got away with one there. So the conflict empties out. Now we go into the Maker phase, which means that gets a bonus spice, that gets a bonus spice, and that gets a bonus spice. Then we'll recall agents. I only used one of mine this turn. Moving swords back. Recalling agents. Okay. Now that that's all sorted, the beast is our first player. So now we're into round 5, where they are getting their Swordmasters. I need to get my Swordmaster this round as well, if I can. So our conflict this round is Desert Power. First place gets a victory point and a water. Second place gets a water and a spice. As mentioned, they get their Swordmasters. And like I said, I need to get mine this turn if I can as well. I also need to get these placed, which is... There we go. So I'm trying to get these Swordmasters, these third agents, on the bases. Come on. There we go. Got that figured out. Beast is the first player. The House of Galdek will need a reshuffle after this. He's deploying to Fold Space. So he'll go to Fold Space, going up with the Spacing Guild, and that'll give him 3 victory points. I'll draw my hand out. 2, 3, 4. Okay, I can get my Swordmaster this round, which is actually pretty tempting. First order of business is the top card of the deck. Dune the Desert Planet. So, I think I'm going to use Test of Humanity to go get my Swordmaster. So I'll use that to deploy up to Swordmaster Each opponent chooses either discard a card or lose a deployed troop. Deployed, I believe, means anything that's gone into the conflict. Let me just double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's how that would read. So I'm actually going to sit on that card. Instead, I'm going to use the dagger to go to my Swordmaster. It'll end up being the same result anyway. So that'll bring me up to 3. No, that'll bring me down to 3 Solari. But it'll give me my Swordmaster, which is right here. Help if I grab the right agent. Alright, so I've used the dagger there. Alright, now Memnon needs to draw a card from the House Hagal deck, but of course, said House Hagal deck, as I mentioned, is empty, so we'll need to give that a quick shuffle. Okay. Now, for Memnon's next turn, he is going to Wealth. So he'll go up to here and advance with the Emperor. As for the Beast, he's going to Conspire. So he'll go up there. He'll go up with the Emperor and gain another victory point. So he's up to 4. Where am I going this turn? I think we're going to go to... I think I'm going to use Diplomacy to deploy to... I'm going to deploy to Still Suits, which will give me another water. And then I'm going to deploy 2 troops into the conflict. So that'll bring me up to 4. Up to 4 strength in the conflict. Then Thorvald is going to Secrets, which will send him up with the Bene Gesserit again. Then the Beast has his last agent. He is going to Hardy Warriors, which will send him up with the Fremen, giving him another victory point. He's up to 5. And he'll gain 2 troops and be able to deploy everything into the conflict. This is not good. So he's at 8 strength. Then, for me, do I think it's better? I think it might be better for me, actually, to set up for next turn. This conflict is going to be lost, most likely. So I'm going to use Dune the Desert Planet and pay my 2 water to go out to the Great Flat and get all 5 spice here. That way I can go up to Selmalange and get a lot of Solari next turn. Probably with the idea of rallying troops. And then Memnon will go to Carthag, which will give him a troop that he'll deploy right into the conflict, so he's up to 2. Then, a reveal turn, I have 3 influence, which I think will get me a gene manipulation. And then replacing that in the Imperium row will be Smuggler's Thopter for 4 influence with the Spacing Guild. You can use it to deploy to yellow spaces. If you have 2 influence with the Spacing Guild, draw 2 cards on an agent turn. Reveal turn gives you an influence and a spice. Let's see what the Beast does for his influence. Or his swords, he gets 2 more. Hopefully, Memnon doesn't draw any swords here, so I can at least salvage a water and a spice out of this. So, of course, he's going to find 6. That's great. Which means I get shut out of this conflict. So, the Beast will end up with the win. So, he'll end up with a victory point and a water. Memnon will get a water and a spice. Actually, he'll trade in the 3 water for another victory point, so he'll go up to 3. The Beast is running away with this one, so 3 water for Memnon, and he gets a spice out of it. Joy, joy. Right, so we've got all that sorted out. We'll empty the conflict out. This might not have been the right conflict to jump into, but I kind of got ambushed there more than a little bit. All right, now we have the Maker Phase, Haga Basin, and Imperial Basin both get bonus spice. Then we recall agents. The Beast is very much running away with this one. He's at 6 victory points. Memnon and I are stuck at 2. That was not a good conflict for us. We're all set there, so first player passes to yours truly, and we're into round, I believe this is round 6 now, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, this is round 6, and we've got a new conflict. The only good thing about the Beast running away with this game is now he's out of troops in the garrison, so hopefully we can take advantage of that over these next few rounds. Our next conflict. Machinations. First place, choose 2. Up with any reputation, up with any faction. Second place gets you a water and 2 Solari. For my turn, let's draw my hand up first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's actually kind of welcome. So now I'll give this a shuffle. The reason I'm giving it a shuffle now is because I need a top card of the deck. So the top card of my deck is Convincing Argument. Okay, so now I've got some decisions to make. I don't have any water, so I can't go get much bonus spice, I don't think. Actually, I could. Which I think I will use the... I think I use the Spice Smugglers to go to Siege Tabor. And I'll pay the 2 spice, which means I'll need 3 change. 1, 2, 3. That'll give me a water. Actually, no. Well, yes, I will get a water from the... I will get a water from going to Siege Tabor. That'll give me 2 troop. That'll give me a troop I'll deploy into this conflict. Because I do want to work on... So that'll give me 6 strength in the conflict. I also go up with the Spacing Guild from using the Spice Smugglers. Then looking at Memnon, his first card... He's going to harvest spice. Since there are 2 spaces with 2 spice, 2 bonus spice, he'll go to Haga Basin, which means he'll get a total of 4 spice. That'll bring him up to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He'll keep 3 spice, trade in the other 7 for a victory point. Fortunately, he doesn't have any troops to put into the conflict. Neither does the Beast, who's going next from the House Hagal deck. His next card is he's going to Fold Space. That'll advance him up further with the Spacing Guild. What did I... Oh, here's the rest of my hand over here. What am I doing, though? Let's use a... Bene Gesserit's sister. I'll move over to Secrets, which I believe is 1... Which will give me a reputation with the Bene Gesserit. Then I believe that's draw a card... And then draw 3, choose 1. I believe that's what that is, but I'd rather make sure. Now, there should be a reference in here for the spaces on the board. See if I can find that. Ah, here we are. Secrets. Yep, draw an intrigue card. Okay, so each opponent who has 4 or more has to give me 1. So the intrigue card I draw is Know Their Ways, up with the Fremen, which would give me the Alliance and the victory point, which I think I will play right away. And it will give me a water for taking over, for hitting the Alliance with the Fremen. Okay, next card from the House of Galdek from Memnon. He's going to Arrakis, which will give the beast a Solari because the beast still controls Arrakis. It will give him a troop and his spice horde. So now Memnon's into this conflict. The beast is going to the Hall of Oratory, building up his strength hopefully rather slowly. Let's see, as for me, I'm going to use the Missionaria Protectiva to deploy. I can deploy to blue spaces with that. I'm going to go to Carthage with that. That'll give me another troop in the conflict. I'll deploy that one into it. That'll give me another intrigue card as well. He will draw. I will draw. Refocus. Shuffle my discard pile into my deck, then draw a card. I'm not going to use that now though. Wait. I think I skipped over the beast. No, I didn't. He wound up to the Hall of Oratory. I just forgot to move his agent there. Memnon's last card. Oh, and I have another Bene Gesserit card in play, so I get to go up with a faction. I'm going to go up with the... Who do I want to go up with here? Going up with either the Spacing Guild or the Bene Gesserit would give me another victory point, which I think I kind of want here. I'm going to try to set myself up a little bit here, so that'll bring me up to 3 victory points as well. As for Memnon's last agent turn, he is going to harvest spice, which is Imperial Basin. So that'll give him another victory point, actually. Because that'll bring him up to... So he'll get the 2 bonus spice, plus the 1 there, plus the 3 he's got here for a total of 7, which will bring him up to 4 victory points. And then the beast's last agent turn is sending him to fold space, except he can't go there, so he'll reveal another card. Selective breeding, he can go there. That will bring him there. Alright, then for my reveal turn, I've got 2 influence, which is going to be a Spice Hunter. And then revealing then the card for the Imperium row. Peter de Vries for 5 influence. You can use him to deploy to green or blue spaces. You get an intrigue card when you use him to deploy. 3 influence and a sword on reveal turn, if you use it then. So I'm hoping there's not another 6 influence or another 6 sword card in this deck. That's a 2, but that's not enough to keep me from winning this conflict. So he will get a water and 2 Solari, but I get 2 reputation. I get to advance on 2 factions. So I'm going to go up on... I'm going to go up on the Spacing Guild, which will give me another victory point. End up with the Bene Gesserit. I might be able to steal the faction alliance from Memnon. We'll find that out soon enough, though. So I've resolved that. These come back. That goes there. Then we have Maker Phase, which only the Great Flat gets bonus spice. Might still be a tempting destination this turn. Agents come back. We got all that. And the Beast's agents. So now I'm tied with Memnon at 4 victory points. The Beast still has 6, though. So we do need to keep an eye on that. First player passes to Memnon, and we're into round 7 now. We're into the stage 3 conflict, so we can either get a little bit of catch-up, or the beast can really take off with this game. So let's see what happens with the first conflict and what it's all about. Battle for Imperial Basin. 2 victory points and control of Imperial Basin for first. Second place gets 5 spice. Memnon is our first player, though, so he might potentially run away with this game as well. First up from the House Hagal deck. He's going to Arrakis, which will give him his signet ring and a troop that'll go straight into the conflict. So that's it for him. The beast, he gets a spice from that. The beast also gets a Solari, but he'll trade in his 7 Solari to get another victory point, which will bring him up to 7. He's starting to get close. We need to keep a very careful eye on that. The beast's next turn, he's going to Carthag, which will get him a troop, both of which are going straight into the conflict. I'm almost going to have to jump in on this one. I also need to draw my hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I'm gonna need to jump in on this one. The only question is how. But let me reveal my hand. I will find a Test of Humanity on top of my deck. Ooh, if I can get that, I could potentially slow the carnage down. Well, I can't get to that, but losing a garrison troop right now isn't that great. But I definitely want to get in on this conflict, even though I don't think I'm going to use am I going to use diplomacy or Yeah, I think I'm going to have to use diplomacy. The question is, what do I want to do with it? Because I really want to get that bonus spice, but I can't afford to sit this conflict out, because if the beast wins this conflict, he'll be 1 victory point from winning the game. So I think we're going to use diplomacy, and I think I have to go to Hardy Warriors. I'll pay the water. So I feel like I'm gonna have to go all in on this conflict. Then for Memnon, his next card, Rally Troops. That could be bad. So he gets 4 troops in his garrison, although I could potentially slow that down, especially if the beast gains troops as well. Although I think most of nope, not all of our gained troop spaces are taken. As for the beast, he's going to Still Suits, which will send him up with the Fremen. He'll gain... Okay, so he'll go up with the Fremen, but he won't be able to deploy into the conflict because his garrison's empty. As for my turn, I still think I do have to use the Gunthopter to at least try to slow down Memnon a little bit, so I'll use that to go to Siege Tabor, which will give me another troop. That'll go straight into the conflict. Memnon will lose a troop. I'll get a water from that. I'll get a water from going to Siege Tabor. Then for Memnon's last House of Gaul card, he's going to Carthag, except he can't because the beast is already there. So instead, he's going to Still Suits, which the beast is also already at. So instead, he's going to rally troops, but he's already rallied troops this turn. He's going to harvest spice, which is very unfortunate because I was looking at going there on my next turn. So I'll trade those 2 in and get a 5 back. And that's another combat space, so he's going to deploy into the conflict, which means now he's got 6 troops in there. As for the beast's last card, he is going to Conspire, which he can go to. So he'll get 2 more troops in his garrison. And up with the Emperor faction. Right? Yes. Okay, so for my last agent turn, well, I think I'm going to use a... I think I'm going to use a gene manipulation to go to Hall of Oratory, which will give me an influence and another troop in the garrison. I can't deploy it into the conflict because that's not a conflict space. Let's see. I get to trash a card. I believe that's from hand or discard pile. From either one. Yes, from hand, discard pile, or play. I'm going to trash... Actually, I'm not going to trash. Alright, so all that moves to my discard pile. Then I've got my reveal turn, which will give me another sword and 3 influence. Which I think will be... Shifting Allegiances for 3. And then replacing that in the Imperium row will be... Spice Smugglers, which I already have 1 of. So now I've got to reveal cards from the House Hagal deck. Memnon can't... I'm hoping to duck 5 swords from Memnon. That's a 1. I can deal with that. The Beast can't overtake me, so now I'm winning this conflict, which I very much needed. He gets another 2, though, which means he's not able to overtake Memnon. I get 2 victory points, which brings me up to 6, and gives me control of Imperial Basin. That's very much welcome. Empty the conflict area. Now we're all at roughly even strength. Maker Phase gets a spice over here. Then we'll recall agents. It's a good thing the Beast didn't win that conflict, because we got to be careful to keep him away from water as well, because another water combined with winning a conflict would end the game with the Beast winning. So we do need to have very careful eyes on that. Fortunately, that put us ahead of... We are very much in the thick of things here. With that, we're into round 8, so let's see what our new conflict is. Coming up on round 8, let's see what our new conflict is about here. Like I said, we need to be very careful about the Beast not getting water and winning a conflict. Battle for Arrakis. 2 victory points and control of Arrakis for first place. Or second gives you a choice of 2 an intrigue card, 2 spice, or 3 Solari. Alright, Beast is the first player, unfortunately, so he'll get his run of the board. He's going to the Hall of Oratory, which gives him another troop in the garrison. As for my turn, let's remember to draw 4. Okay, that's not completely helpful. Let's see what the top card of the deck is, though. Dune the Desert Planet. I've got no way to get any of that bonus spice. That's going to be a problem. I can't even go sell any of the spice either. Well, I think I'm probably leaving the Bene Gesserit sister in hand because I need the swords in the conflict. Each opponent loses a deployed troop. I may need that later. I'll use Reconnaissance, though, to deploy to a blue space. I'm going to go back to Siege Tabor, which will get me a water... and a troop, both of which are going into the conflict. So that brings me up to 4 right away in the conflict. Let's see what Memnon's doing once I shuffle the House Hagal deck. Alright, let's see what Memnon's doing. Memnon is going to Carthag, which will give him a troop in the conflict, which will give him a troop in the garrison, and it's going straight into the conflict. As for the beast, he is going to selective breeding with the, oh, this is bad, with the Bene Gesserit. That brings him up to 8 victory points, and that's just as good, as the victory point from the water. And I've got no way to get Solari this turn. That is a major problem. I think here I'm going to use Test of Humanity to deploy to... So that'll make the beast lose a garrisoned troop, which is actually good for us. But I think... What am I doing with that space? Actually, I think going to Arrakis is fine here, because the beast is fresh out of Solari, so giving him 1 now isn't bad. I more want the card and the troop. So that'll bring me up to 6, and the top card of the deck is a scout. So now I've got a way to get some spice here. So Memnon is going to Still Suits, which is going to send him up with the Fremen. As for the beast, he is going to the Hall of Oratory, except he can't because he already deployed there. So he's going instead to Fold Space, which he can go to. Okay, now we've got a lot of problems, because now he's got the faction alliance, also the 3 Solari from that. So he's up to 9 victory points. If he's able to surprise, he's not able to surprise get in on this conflict, because that was his last agent. So that's very fortunate for us. I think here... I'm basically going to have to hope I can get to Highliner next turn. So I'm going to use Dune the Desert Planet to go to him, to send an agent to Imperial Basin. I'll get 3 spice total, 1 from the space, 1 bonus, and 1 because I have control of Imperial Basin. Unfortunately, I can't deploy into the conflict because I'm completely out of troops at this point. As for Memnon, he is going to rally troops. That's going to make him dangerous next round. Hopefully, though, I can blindside both of them. Let's see, here I've got, on my influence, on my reveal turn, I'm going to have 3 swords and 2 influence. So I'm hoping to duck a 5 sword from Memnon. The problem is, I just shuffled the deck and I haven't seen a 5 sword out yet. So over 2 influence, we're going to grab another Spice Smugglers. And then replacing that in the Imperium row is Leet Kynes. 5 Solari, and when you acquire her, you go up with the Emperor and Fremen. Fremen reputation, or Fremen and blue spaces you can deploy to. 2 influence for each Fremen card you have in play, including this one. Okay, so now we have to reveal a card and hope we duck a 5 from Memnon. Which we get a 2, so that's perfect. Which means we win, so that brings them up to 6. We win the conflict, which brings me up to 8 victory points and gives me control of Arrakis. So I stole that away from the beast. He gets to choose. He'll take 2 spice. He'll take 2 spice and 3 Solari. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So he'll have 2 left. He'll have 2 Solari left, and he'll be cleaned out of spice, but he'll have 2 more victory points out of that. Okay, so with that, Maker Phase puts spice here and here. We'll recall agents. I kind of did this slightly out of order, but it's all going to amount to the same thing. Okay, that all gets cleared. All right, we're into round 9. The Beast could still win the game, but now I'm in danger. But now I could potentially pull it off as well. But let's see what happens with round 9. All right, first player actually will pass to me, which could be a very important fact here. Let's see what happens with the conflict. Our conflict this time. Grand Vision. Go up 2 reputation with any faction and get an intrigue card. Second place gets you an intrigue card and 3 spice. I need to draw my hand. Let's see what we find here. I need a way to get to Highliner so I can set up for... Actually, there could be an argument for a couple of different spaces. Going to Selmelange. Now that I've got plenty of spice for that, I could probably rally some troops. I can definitely use the scout to get up to Selmelange. Unless I think... Well, let's see what I get in my hand first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I do have a way to get to Highliner this round. And then revealing that is Dune the Desert Planet. So first order of business, I think, will be diplomacy. I'll spend 6 spice, because that's what I'm going to need to spend, to go to Highliner, which will send me up with the Spacing Guild. That'll give me 5 troops and 2 water. The question is, what do I want to do with those troops? 5 troops. I'm going to put... I could very easily go balls deep on this conflict. And... I think I'll put 3... I think I'll put 3 into it for now. So that'll bring me up to 6. Before we go into Memnon's first turn, I do need to change my battery. I'm very much gambling here, and unfortunately, I am the first player, so that does have its disadvantages this round. Anyway, looking at Memnon next, he's going to harvest spice, so he's going straight to Haga Basin. Unfortunately, he does have troops in the garrison, so he will be deploying into the conflict. He's got 4 spice. Then he's got 2 troops in the conflict, which brings him up to 4. The Beast is up next. He is going to Hardy Warriors. Uh-oh. We need to be very careful with that, because now he's tied with me on Fremen Alliance. If he steals that alliance, he would have a chance to win the game, so I do need to keep an eye on that. What to do? I think here, I wish I had another Bene Gesserit card in play, or a way to get to one. I think here, I'm going to use a reconnaissance to go to... It looks like I need to get in on this I need to get all in on this conflict. As much as I don't want to. I'm going to go to... do I want to go to Arrakis or... You know what? I've got a better plan. I'm going to pay 2 water to go to the research station. I'm going to try to dig for... Actually, what am I even digging for at this point? Well, I'm going to get a Dune the Desert Planet anyway. 2, 3. Okay, that kind of opens up my options a little bit. But I don't have the 2 spice. I'm definitely in on this conflict, though. So, my card on top of the deck is a Gunthopter. Alright, and I will deploy my last 2 troops into the conflict. I'm going to have to rely on swords in my hand to get there. Actually, maybe not. Well, let's see. Memnon's next agent turn is going up to Arrakis, so that'll get him a troop. That'll get him a troop, which is going into the conflict, so he's up to 10 now. It does get me a Solari, though, because I do control Arrakis, so that's something. And need to give him his spice for his spice hoard from his signet ring. The beast is going to still suits. This is exactly what I was afraid of. So he goes up with the Fremen, which steals the Fremen Alliance token. So unless I'm able to steal it back, the beast will win the game on this end phase. The only question is, how can I steal... Actually, a better question is, can I steal it back? And I think the answer is no. Actually, maybe I can, but I need to win this conflict badly. So, I think here, well, I need as many swords as I can get my hands on here. So I think we're going to go with the Missionaria Protectiva next. I'll deploy that to Siege Tabor, which will give me another troop in the conflict, bringing me up to 12 and another water. Then Memnon will be going to the Hall of Oratory to get another troop. And then the Beast's last agent turn is Selective Breeding, which is putting us all on the cusp of Bene Gesserit rep. So that gives me a lot of stuff, actually. The Scout, actually, so let's total up swords first. I'm going 1, 2, 3, 5 swords. I'm not retreating troops from retreat up to 2. That would bring me down. If I retreat 2, that would bring me down. I think I'm going to leave everything as is. I'm going to stay at 17 strength because I can't afford to let Memnon overtake me in this conflict. Actually, I've got to win this conflict because winning this game is going to depend on it, most likely. And I do have another Bene Gesserit card in play. I believe in play. Cards you play on agent turns, remain face up, and in play. Okay. So I do have the Missionaria Protectiva. So that gives me an up with a reputation. Actually, I'm going to go up with the Bene Gesserit. That'll give me the Alliance token and 8 victory points, and bring me up to 8 victory points. Also gives me an Intrigue card, so I will find an Ambush. That could be handy. Actually, that would be a great last turn card, as in final conflict of the game. So I'm at 17 strength. I've used all the swords I've got, and I've got 1, 2, 3 influence, which is going to be an Arrakis liaison, and I'm going to let the last one go to waste. Alright, that's all done there. So now we're drawing a card for... So now we're drawing a sword card for Memnon. Oh, the Beast is in on this conflict as well at 8. So I'm definitely guaranteed to win this conflict. Let's see what happens here. That's a no swords from Memnon. For the Beast, that's 2, which is not enough to overtake me, and I was hoping for that. So I win, which gives me 2 reputation. I'll use that to go all the way up to the top of the Fremen and steal the Fremen Alliance back, which will bring us down to 9 victory points. Memnon's going to get an Intrigue card and 3 Spice, which means he'll have 1 left, and he'll get another victory point. And the Beast gets shut out. So during Maker phase, Spice and Spice. We'll clear everything out of the garrisons. Unfortunately, I'm going to be last player this round, so I really need to be able to get up to rally troops this turn, but there's hardly a guarantee I'll be able to. But we'll see what happens there. So we did Maker phase, we recall agents. Okay. I do have just enough Solari now that I'm looking at it, that if I can get to rally troops, I will be able to rally troops this turn. Fortunately, only Memnon has troops in the garrison right now. So let's go into round 10 and our last conflict of the game. Our last conflict of the game. Battle for Carthag. 2 victory points and control of Carthag, not that it'll matter. Second place gets an intrigue card and 3 spice. So I'm going to draw my hand up here. Let's make sure I've got a way to get to rally troops this turn. I do, so that's very good. And top of the deck we find Spice Smugglers again. So basically I need to duck both Memnon and the Beast going to rally troops. Has that come up yet in the... It has come up in the House Hagal deck. I don't know if there's a second copy in there. Unfortunately, it looks like I'm going to be finding out the hard way. So rally troops has come up. If there's a second copy in here, I'm basically screwed, but we'll find out. Of course it does. That's the first card of the deck. Wonderful. As for the Beast, let's see what he's doing. He is going to harvest spice, because of course he is. He'll get 5 spice. Fortunately, he doesn't have enough to trade in for his last victory point. That kind of causes me some problems. Actually, more than some problems, a lot of problems. Maybe not, actually. I'll use my Signet Ring, which will get me the Spice Smugglers, and revealing on the top of my deck a dagger. I'll use that to go to... I'll use that to go to Siege Tabor, which will get me another water, which I don't really need, but it'll get me a troop in the conflict. Unfortunately, I don't have a way... Well, maybe I do. Let's see what Memnon's doing here, anyway. Wealth, which will get him up with the Emperor faction. That'll bring him up to 8 victory points. This is very much anybody's game at this point. The Beast is going to Arrakis. He will get 2 troops. He'll pay me a Solari, not that it does him any good. So we'll get a total of 3 troops and in on this conflict. So the game would be ending anyway, no matter how we did that. Let's see. For my turn, I think I need all the swords in my hand I can find for this one. So I'm going to leave those in hand, and I'm going to use... Oh, crap. I can't use convincing arguments to deploy with. That's not great. You know what I can do, though? Do I just go digging for cards at this point? Digging for cards might be my best play at this point, and I need a blue card to do that. I'm going to use Gene Manipulation to do that. So I'll pay 2 water to go to the research station. I'll pay 2 water to go to the research station and draw 3 cards, which will get me the dagger, 2, 3. And replacing that on top of the deck will be a Spice Hunter. That's not great. As for Memnon's last agent turn, Carthag, which will get him a troop, and he'll get to send 3 into the conflict. This is a problem. Then the Beast's last agent turn, he's going to conspire, which will give him the alliance token and 2 more troops. Fortunately, it's not a combat space, so he won't be able to deploy into the conflict. Let's see. The question is, can I get troops and deploy them into the conflict? I think the answer there is no. But what I can do... Actually, yes, I can, actually, now that I look at it. So I'm going to use Test of Humanity, actually, to go get the Mentat, because I can pay 2 Solari to deploy an agent up there, get the Mentat to use for this turn. That'll give me the Spice Hunter, and reveal a Shifting Allegiances at the top of the deck, which doesn't matter, but each opponent has to lose a deployed troop, so they both go down to 4, which now brings me to the possibility of maybe I've got enough swords to pull this off, but I probably don't. Well, maybe I do, actually. I'll use the Spice Hunter, pay a water to go over to send the Mentat to Hardy Warriors, which will let me advance with the Fremen, except I'm already at the top there. That'll let me deploy 2 more troops into the conflict, and I'm up to 6. Now, here comes the moment of truth. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more swords, which brings me up to 13. Let's see, I have a total of 4 influence, which will be a... that'll be a Smuggler's Thopter. And then replacing that, even though it doesn't matter, would be a Siege Reverend Mother for 4 influence. Bene Gesserit and Fremen, sensitive to cards that specify that, can deploy to Bene Gesserit or Fremen spaces. Trash a card. Fremen Bond gives you 3 influence and a spice. Okay, so I'm up to 13 influence in the conflict, unless there's a surprise 9 influence card in the... Memnon was the first player. Unless there are surprise 9 influence cards in the House of Gaul deck, I think I stole this game away. So Memnon will find 1 sword, which is not going to help them, which is not going to help him. The Beast will find 1. So they both are going to get shut out of the conflict. I gain 2 victory points, which lets me overtake the Beast at the last moment, and control of Carthage. So, now that that's over, we would do this by the book. The Maker phase... Actually, let's do this by the book. So the Maker phase puts bonus spice out there. And then during Recall phase, we check for end of game, which the end of game... Actually, both the end of game conditions are met. So if any player is at 10 or more victory points on the score track, or the conflict deck is empty, the end game is triggered. So, actually I forgot I had the ambush card, which I could have used anyway during combat, but I didn't need it. So I basically had this win locked up. So, yeah, I'm at 11 victory points to the Beast's 10. So, basically at the last possible moment, I came in and stole this game away. That will do it for this playthrough of Dune Imperium. This is a game I still really enjoy. Just because you can have moments like that happen where it's looking bleak, everybody's tight together, and then one player comes in and steals it at the last possible moment. I really enjoy this game too. I normally am very shy around worker placement games, but I think between this game having worker placement, or having deck building elements, which is a mechanic I really like, and a little bit of worker placement in there, I really enjoy this one because it's just that right mix of the 2 mechanics. So I'm kind of rambling a little bit. We're still very much in the thick of a busy week on the channel. Tomorrow we'll be continuing baseball testing with a game of payoff pitch baseball. Saturday will feature our last baseball game as we play season ticket baseball. As for Mystical Munchies, Saturday we'll be making the dessert out of the official Halo cookbook, Coke Chocolate Cream Pie. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.